Previously, on Rise of the Goblin. After his many attempts to re-energize the ancient sentient construct from the Pleasure Goblin met with failure, Cogswald accepted a bargain with the demon Ertu. Jeegus and company would slay a renowned wizard adventurer, the master of the Abjuration Castle, and in return, Ertu would provide a seed crystal for the inert Mythallar. Marshalling his forces, Jeegus wasted little time in besieging the fortress. Cogswald, Fifag, and Manorm assaulted the siege weapons and magically spawned guards. Meanwhile, Jeegus, sacrificing his most zealous followers in conflagrations of fire and death, penetrated the front gate and gained access to the interior. The goblins wasted little time slaughtering all of the spellcasting defenders, save one sorcerer who disappeared after their defeat was certain. After plundering various magical sundries, the goblins absconded back to the mountain ether crystal mine, now known as Afghanistan. There, the work to revive the ancient magical construct finally bore fruit. In the depths of Mount Borfang, subterranean passages stretched along nearly endlessly. Rolling out across the continent, the network of claustrophobic spaces was unique, in that precious few areas connected down to that most dangerous of all depths, the Underdark. This provided the goblins of Jeegus a haven to spread and settle, sheltered from the eyes of the long legs on the surface, and the predations from the monsters of the deep. Precious ether crystals sprout throughout the mountain spaces, a profusion of poisonous arcane potential, spread out like sores across the body of a leper. At the heart of the mountain is the very center of the corruption. Here, the purest veins of ether crystals encrust nearly every surface of the tunnels. It is at this site that Cogswald has at last found the seed crystal, exactly where Ertu had promised. He knows that the reward from Lord Jeegus will be generous. It is surrounded by a massive collection of obsidian and takes the slave crews weeks to break through. Manorm ranges about the excavation with manic glee, fighting explosives and clearing away huge swaths of stone, with not a care for the minions caught in the collapsing debris. Fifag stalks every shadow, finds any laborer catching their breath or even beginning to swing less vigorously. His motivation for the rest coming as so many pained screams. With much fanfare, the seed crystal is borne aloft in the raised fist of mighty Jeegus, as his followers bear him down the windy passages to Cogswald's laboratory. There, the Mythallar construct's defenses blaze anew, triggered by some ancient magical contingency to prevent its sentience from being rewritten. The enchanted crystal lashes out with terrible eldritch power, leaving any creature approaching as smoking ash. The air is harsh with the taste of ozone while lightning stitches the room, arcing between the newest wave of martyrs, seeking to exhaust its otherworldly might.
Sheltered behind the many layers of stolen abjuration enchantments, Cogswald monitored the various dials and controls of his lab as the seed crystal spun gracefully in the center.
It is no use, my lord. When we defeated the construct, it was but a shadow of its former glory. Now, with its power waxing, we cannot get close enough to plant the new seed crystal. This frenzied outpouring of destruction, it is almost as if it were afraid.
At that moment, another pipe burst, and smoke obscured the mechanical goblin as he dove into the sparking equipment. Jeegus sits idly upon his mobile throne, nails impatiently clicking against the finely wrought armrests before going still.
Perhaps you need have more faith in your lord. Know you not that through Jeegus all things are possible?
At hearing the name of their lord, his litter-bearers droned a litany to the Great Green One. Replacing the rasping of their hoarse throats were the sibilant tones of Jeegus, infused with his magical command.
Perhaps a test of your resolve is needed.
Understanding the threat for what it was, Cogswald glanced at the expanding shadow of the doorway, and the glint of Fifag's unsheathed dagger. His will fast being dominated by his lord, Cogswald removed the seed crystal from its enclosure and lowered the defenses. All over his armored carapace, resistors of bone, stone, and metal ground the deadly arcs of lightning. Clutching the seed crystal in a mage hand of mechanical design, Cogswald trudges forward into the maelstrom of arcane energies. Closer now than any of the ash smears on the cavern floor, The artificer is engulfed in flame as fireballs erupt around him. Just as quickly, the roar of the explosion is replaced by the hissing of steam as Manorm's barrel golem strides forward, spraying a foaming deluge that negates the attack. His metal plates glowing with heat, Cogswald reaches the construct's core and grasps the sentient heart. With mage hand extended, he begins to pry it from the housing. Struggling mightily, he feels the resistance give and senses victory. His ragged breath stops and his blood runs cold as suddenly, before him, a board flashes into existence and expands, rolling out to encompass the entire mountain. The cyber god can read the discharge of a 10th circle casting of Tolodine's killing winds in the spell weave before him, a spell powerful enough to depopulate an entire city-state, little more than a legend in the current era. His death the only possible outcome of the coming moments, Cogswald lets out a relieved breath and a small chuckle.
I have my answer. He was no god, after all.
The air comes alive with magic as a vortex forms in the chamber. The followers closest to the Mythallar are clutching their throats with bulging eyes, frothing mouths uttering their final praises to their god. The roaring winds reach a crescendo, flaying the skin from the litter bearers where they kneel. Impossibly, a voice can be heard over the tumult. Bizarrely confident as it is quiet, the voice utters simply,
Jeegus says no.
Jeegus, unfazed, an eye of calm in the midst of a maelstrom of chaos, holds before him a card from the deck of many things. With a thought, Jeegus changes the weave of fate and spins out a reality of his choosing. A stillness and quiet roll outwards from his regal form, an all-encompassing darkness that seems to last an eternity for those trapped within. Just as the eons of empty space were eventually filled with the stars and realms that dot the heavens, so too did the lanterns begin to dimly illuminate the chamber again.
It is mine.
No one present could remember Jeegus rising and walking across the room, but even so, he currently stood before the Mythallar, crooning sweetly to the enormous crystal, caressing its many sharp edges. Before any other, Cogswald bent the knee and shouted with genuine awe, and enough zeal to shame even the most pious of followers.
Praise Jeegus! Jeegus is great!
The chant was carried across all of his domain, echoing off every surface for miles around.
Praise Jeegus! Praise Jeegus! Praise